very much for that very rousing speech and impassioned case to stay in the European Union as well, so business and politics there. We've got a good 15-20 minutes for questions if anyone has them, before we've got a drink reception with complimentary Cobra Beer for everyone. So special thanks to Lord Bilimoria and his team for that. So here we go, here's some questions.
Yes. Would you like to go first?
What are your thoughts on copycat companies? I'm thinking of Kingfisher.
When I started in business, I was very worried that everything was secret and somebody would copy our. You can't patent a beer. It's practically impossible to patent a beer. So in our case, we've got malted barley, yeast, water, 4 varieties of hops, wheat, rice, and maize. Somebody could add a little bit more of one ingredient. It's a different recipe. So there's nothing to stop anyone copying our product. And then I realized that actually you've got to be transparent and open. And how you succeed is by being a better product and by being a better company and by being a stronger brand. And I've nearly lost my business 3 times. And the 3 things that saw me through: 1, having a strong brand. 2, having a strong team. 3, having a strong sense of values and integrity. And those values are the most important. And what I was talking about at this country, I think this country is phenomenal in that spirit that we have and the values that are inherent in this country, built up over centuries. And the Archbishop of Canterbury, when I welcomed him to the Zoroastrians, I'm a Zoroastrian Parsi, one of the smallest communities in the world, and I'm the patron of the community here in the UK, welcomed him to our centre in Harrow, and I made the welcoming speech, and he said, when he spoke, he said, Lord Bilimoria has used the word integrity twice. And he said the Parsi community, the Zoroastrian Parsi community, renowned for their integrity. And the word integrity comes from the Latin and Greek word integer, integrum, which means wholeness. You cannot practice integrity if you're fragmented in front of the light. You can practice integrity if you're whole. So by having those 3 things, great team, great values, and a strong brand, you can stay ahead of the competition and any copycats. Yes.
I'm trying to encourage some younger people, you'll understand why it's younger people when I finish, to form a movement, and I've written a little manifesto for them, because if Murdoch and friends win and persuade all us old people to vote us out, we're not going to last all that much longer. Would it be sensible for them to have this movement to rejoin when we've all passed on?
A movement to rejoin.
If the worst happens and the Daily Mail readers and the Sun readers...
The Telegraph, Sun, Daily Mail, all openly for leaving, which I think is hugely irresponsible, hugely misguided from everything that I've said. And it was my friend Lord Robertson, George Robertson, who was former Secretary General of NATO, who said when we had the last European Union, we got our last European Union debate, by the way, tomorrow. It's the last one in Parliament, and then we close down before the referendum. And in the last debate, he said, some decisions are so important, future generations should have a vote in them. That's what this is about. We would be hugely irresponsible if we vote to leave now, when there's no need, as I've explained to you, to leave now. We don't need to risk what we've got now. And all we can do is try and get that message across, but what will probably happen is the mess that will be created if we leave, the uncertainty that will be there, and all the things that I said that might happen, in itself will hopefully learn the lesson. But unfortunately, I don't think we could just join again, or hold the referendum and then not press the button for exit. So I think it'll be an absolute mess. The Prime Minister probably won't last. It's been awful, and what hasn't helped is we've had a Labour leader, Jezza, who has been hopeless in this referendum, and the Labour Party has not been galvanised at all, and that's another wasted opportunity altogether.
It would be a mess, but would it be worth thinking of rejoining?
If they let us, in the long run. So Who knows? These are the uncertainties.
It'd be good to put a marker down now.
Well, it's a good suggestion, but hopefully it won't come to that. We've still got a week. Yes.
Thank you for your talk.
Thank you.
You mentioned about how great Britain is, and I agree with you. But you also mentioned that Cobra grew in both Liverpool and the North East. Just out of interest, what's your opinion on the current and apparent North-South divide that's in the UK, or in England, please?
If this whole North-South divide is not unique to Britain. Many countries have geographical divides of more prosperity, less prosperous, certain industries located in certain areas. What I believe has happened, and I've seen this in front of my eyes. So when I came in the 80s over here, Liverpool was a dump, Manchester was a dump, Leeds was a dump, Birmingham was a dump. These are all down and out places. And look at how they've revived now. When you go to Liverpool, it's vibrant. Leeds is vibrant. Birmingham is vibrant. Manchester is vibrant. They're buzzing. So there's been a resurgence that has been phenomenal. But London will always be overpowering because a lot of countries, the financial centre is not the same as capital, New York and Washington. Whereas here you've got the financial centre and the capital in one city. And it's the greatest of the world's great cities. So that London bias will always exist. But manufacturing is tiny in London. It's almost non-existent. So the manufacturing base is outside London, the Midlands. And I think this whole idea of the Midlands engine, Northern Powerhouse, are good initiatives to continue that resurgence that has taken place. And I think the potential is enormous. So I think we need to continue down that path. Any more questions? Yes.
What were the circumstances in which you nearly lost your businesses?
We could be here all evening. There were three times. The first time was we started a trade magazine, and the editor wrote an article that upset the restaurants. Understandably, the restaurants boycotted Cobra, and it's when your own customers boycott you through no fault of your own. It took us 1 year to convince the restaurants that we would not harm our own customers, and eventually the boycott was lifted. And we got the most amazing relationship with restaurateurs. In fact, without the support of the current restaurateurs, we wouldn't be where we are today. The second time was we were raising money from a strategic investor, the biggest drinks company in the world at the time, and 2 weeks we signed the whole due diligence done, signed the deal. They were going to take a 30% stake in our company, and we had to sell out to them in 5 years. 2 weeks before Lehman's went bust, we didn't know Lehman's was going to go bust. They got cold feet and they withdrew. And we'd run out of money by that stage. We were reliant on their money coming in. Luckily, I had a plan B, and I managed to raise money from an Indian bank that kept us going. And then when Lehman's went bust, the Indian bank told us, if this had happened after Lehman's had gone bust, they wouldn't have lent us the money. Just imagine what might have happened. And the third time was in 2008-9, when our hedge fund investor forced us to put the company up for sale, and we came this close to losing everything in May 2009, when we put together restructuring, which fell apart at the last minute, and luckily formed a joint venture with Molson Coors, the third largest brewers in the world, and we saved the company, we saved the brand, we saved the team, and my shareholders. And to this day, I'm repaying my creditors to settle everybody. So that was the third time, and hopefully the last time. Yes.
You've been in the House of Lords for almost pushing 10 years now.
10 years next month.
10 years next month.
Yes.
What would you say was the real highlight of being there? Obviously, hopefully you'll be here for many more years, but what would be the real standout for you, sort of contributing to the debates? Was there one moment that sort of stands out?
All being well, tomorrow when I make a speech in the European Union debate that convinces people to remain. So there have been times when, for example, one of the times which was very special for me was my father was commissioned into the Gurkhas. His battalion, the 2nd 5th Gurkhas, 2nd 5th Gurkha Rifles Frontier Force, won 3 Victoria Cross in the Second World War. One was posthumous. I was brought up from childhood with 2 of the Victoria Cross winners, and I led the debate for the 200th anniversary of the Gurkha service to Britain and India last year. And that was a very special moment for me to have the honour to do that. I spearheaded getting the 2-year post-graduation work visa for international students in 2007, after Gordon Brown became Prime Minister and Andrew Adonis was the Education Minister in the Lords. I got cross-party support and we managed to get that 2 years. And of course, the number of Indian students after that just rocketed. So that I was proud to have played a major role in that. So yes, it's times like that where you realize you can make a real difference. But what I appreciate most about the House of Lords, and this is what I don't think people appreciate enough. People say, oh, House of Lords unelected, you know, unelected, and therefore you're not legitimate. You know, the irony that I've spoken in House of Lords reform from the day I joined, and one of the people who encouraged me to do that was Betty Boothroyd, because I made a speech once, the first speech in the House of Lords reform debates, right when I saw it 10 years ago, and she said, well done, you've got to keep on that, and she encouraged me. Great lady, the first woman speaker in the House of Commons and a fellow crossbencher now. And I'm so glad I took part in the House of Lords reform debates, because it really got me to understand our Constitution and the role of the House of Lords. You know, I realize how this unelected House is the cornerstone of our democracy. If it became elected, we would lose what is special about the House of Lords. And what is really special about the House of Lords is there are over 800 of us, which is probably too many. We probably need to be the same number as Commons, around 650. We have the greatest depth and breadth of expertise of any chamber in the world by miles. I mean, the American Senate, which is our equivalent, over 50% of them are lawyers. Great breadth of expertise there. With us, in any field that you can imagine, whether it's scientists, doctors, business people, lawyers, authors, journalists, former cabinet ministers, former chancellors of the exchequer, former chiefs of defense staff, former heads of police, at the highest level, world-class expertise that's brought to bear on legislation and debates and challenging government. And for what? We don't get a salary. We don't get a pension. I don't even get money to pay for a researcher. £100 million is what it costs for the House of Lords to get all that expertise. £100 million out of £700 billion of government expenditure, and we get that expertise. People don't appreciate it. I think we're very lucky to have the House of Lords. The average age of my colleagues is 70, so I still feel young there. And I tell you, I've seen many of them who were there in their 90s, who were there the day before they die. They're active. Some of them in their 90s are beating me to a question. They are brilliant. And the best part about being there is every day I'm there, I learn from them, and it's a real privilege. Yes?
In the UK, we've had movements like Brexit and UKIP, and on the left, we've had people coming in who claim themselves to be socialists. At the same time, in America, we've had groups like Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump coming into the political scene. What do you think is causing this shift towards the extremist political views in contemporary politics?
I think that what is causing it is people are losing faith. People are losing trust. There's a lack of leadership, a serious lack of leadership in the world at the moment. And if you think about the great changes that have taken place in the last 2 or 3 decades, they've taken place by very effective leaders and not necessarily popular. I mean, I was lucky to get to know Margaret Thatcher. She was not necessarily a popular figure, but she changed this country. It is, I believe, thanks to her that we have the entrepreneurship, the economic revival, the open economy, and we're the 5th largest economy in the world. She led that transformation. She was not necessarily popular. Ronald Reagan, people wrote him off. The two of them together were highly responsible for the end of the Cold War and eventually the fall of the Berlin Wall and bringing their freedom to Eastern Europe. So that strong leadership is lacking today, and that's what we desperately need. That's what people are looking out for and craving out for. And it's not there, unfortunately, at the moment. And if I may now conclude, I've just got one last thing to share with you. And thank you, it's been a real privilege being with you. And I just want to conclude with one, I think what sums up everything is I was on the committee that set up the statue of Mahatma Gandhi in Parliament Square. And it's one of the best things I've done, by the way, if you ask me, if my parliamentary career was being on that committee. And it's only the 11th statue in Parliament Square. There isn't a day that I don't drive around Parliament Square when I don't see somebody in front of that statue, because such is the influence of Mahatma Gandhi, a great, great man. And by the way, we had our first meeting in July and the statue was unveiled in March. Government can work quickly when it wants to. Our biggest challenge was making sure the statue was as far away from Winston Churchill's statue as possible, on the other side of the square. But my favorite saying of Mahatma Gandhi's, if you'll allow me to paraphrase it, is that it's all about your beliefs. Do we believe in Britain? Do we believe in what we stand for? Because our beliefs become our thoughts become our words become our actions become our habits form our character, and our character determines our destiny. Thank you very much.